We finally have answers to all the Brock Boeser contract speculation directly from Boeser himself, making today even more emotional for Canucks fans. And GM Patrik Allvin addresses an early season review for what was a wild season for the Canucks. We're going to be breaking out all that in this episode of Canucks Digest, so first make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you don't miss any and all Canucks updates as we head through what's left of the regular season. And with that, let's hop into the first topic of the day, which is it's not looking likely. And what's not looking likely we're going to hop into in a second, but Brock Boeser was speaking to the media and when talking about the season as a whole, if you want to pause and take a read here, if not, I'll read it for you. He said, "It hurts. We wanted to be in the playoffs again so bad. If you get in, you never know what can happen. We were playing some good hockey when we had everyone in the lineup, and then we ran into more injury problems. We've had the distractions this year and injuries throughout the lineup all year. Yeah, it's been a rough year, but there's no excuses. We didn't win enough hockey games when we were supposed to. We look back at times this season where we struggled as a team, and if we were just a little bit better, we'd be in the hunt right now. It's frustrating." Overall, yeah, frustrating is a word to use for this. And right there at the start, just all the injury problems that they had. We touched on in the last episode about how depleted this Canucks team was throughout the entire year. There was always on and off injuries, and Boeser being included in that. And we're going to hop into that in a second. However, with Boeser, it was just unfortunate to see all the frustration weigh in on this, especially when in a contract year. And when asked about his returning chances, saying, "Honestly, it's unlikely at this point. It sucks. It's unfortunate. I'm just trying to play good hockey. Then I'll worry about everything after that." We all know it's been a roller coaster of a year. There's been a lot of different things. And yeah, it's been all over the place. And I don't think the trade deadline did any favors as far as this is going. I think the trade deadline really put a big dent and fracture in the relationship with the Canucks and Brock Boeser, because they had all the intention of trying to move him and listening to offers and all that. So in Brock Boeser's eyes, that just proved to him that maybe the Canucks don't want me anymore. And that's why he didn't sign an extension at the trade deadline. That's why he didn't sign one initially at the beginning of the season when it wasn't exactly what he was looking for. So even when the Canucks were able to come to him with the magic number as far as money that they were concerned with, the term wasn't enough. So that was another point there where after the trade deadline, they came to him with another one. They said, "Hey, here's one, but it's not as long as he wanted." So that really put a dent in their relationship, I think. And I think that's why we're in the situation we're in now where it's not looking likely Brock Boeser will be back next season. You guys know me. I'm a massive Brock Boeser fan. He's probably my favorite Vancouver Canuck. I've always said that he's our most valuable Canuck, even outside of and sometimes including Quinn Hughes, with the way that Brock Boeser can just rally us into games, get us a late game goal that we need to put into overtime or a game-winning goal, whether it's in shootout, overtime, or just putting the team on his back with a multi-goal game. Pius Suter really did that the other night when we pulled off that comeback against Dallas. He was really pulling off his best Brock Boeser impression and did a great job at getting us back into that game and making sure that we were able to win the game, which was key for Sherwood, which also another amazing addition to the team. But as far as Brock Boeser goes, it sucks seeing this because he's been there for so long. After scoring 40 goals last season, Boeser has 25 goals and 49 points in 71 games this year and is a team worst minus 24. He started the season on a point per game pace with 6 goals in 12 games before he was concussed by Tanner Jeannot's headshot on November 7th, and Boeser missed 7 games while Jeannot was suspended for 3. In the last 11 games when the Canucks were frantically trying to stay in the playoff race, Boeser had 7 goals and 11 points in 11 games, which is insane. He logged a season-high 23 minutes and 13 seconds of ice time in Dallas, which was pretty great, and he had a really solid game. And Brock Boeser, like I just said, such a valuable asset, and you see there that when the Canucks needed him, he stepped up. 7 goals and 11 points in those 11 games is huge. And that's the thing, is that he didn't have necessarily the season that we all thought he was going to have, especially coming off of that 40-goal season. However, injuries played a big part of it. Not only with the concussion from Tanner Jeannot early in the season, but still coming off of those blood clots from last season that sidelined him for the postseason in Game 7 against the Edmonton Oilers, which was huge because at the time, he was our best performer in the playoffs. He was one of our best players just in general, and that was one of the big things where, hey, we don't have him here, and we were really depleted as a result. And that's the thing, too, is everyone talks about how Quinn Hughes is such a valuable asset to the team. Obviously, he is. He's next Bobby Orr. He's our captain. He's amazing. We all know how great Quinn Hughes is. But Vancouver has been able to step up without Quinn Hughes. I'm not saying Quinn Hughes is expendable. I'm just saying that a lot of people tend to jump to the conversation of without Quinn Hughes, the Vancouver Canucks are nothing and they can't get things going. But when we were without him for a few games this year, were we able to win a lot? No, but we were still able to win some. We weren't completely dead in the water. However, when you look at the games that we played without Brock Boeser, those ones are a bit more where you see the numbers kind of show a bit of the truth there, where Brock Boeser is such a big asset to this team because of assists and creating scoring chances for other players and scoring himself, like I said, for all the reasons that we've seen him do over the past 8 seasons in Vancouver. And that's what also makes this unfortunate, is he's spent his entire career in Vancouver, is a pillar of this community, is loved by all the fans on and off the ice. He's loved by the players on and off the ice. He loves this city. He wants to stay in this city. However, it just doesn't seem like the relationship is going to end in the brightest of ways, and we're going to end up losing him in free agency. So with this, Vancouver is going to be losing what was by going into next season, it'll likely be that Vancouver lost 2 of their 4 big pillars, or their core 4, as you would say if you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, in losing 2 of them in JT Miller and Brock Boeser. JT Miller, obviously that relationship was a bit more soured, and that was probably a good moving on from point. However, with Brock Boeser, this is one that really stings, especially for me, just because of how much I love Brock Boeser, just as a player, as a human being. I love what he's done for this team and this culture and what he's meant ever since he came to Vancouver. It's been awesome to watch him play hockey for Vancouver, and if he goes over to Minnesota, it's great that he's able to go home to finish his career. However, would have loved to see him be able to finish it out in Vancouver and just play his entire career with the Vancouver Canucks. But what do you guys think about all of this and losing Brock Boeser in free agency, which is likely going to happen? As far as the jumping off points from this, he did say that he hasn't even talked with his agent. He refuses to talk with his agent because he just wants to focus on playing his best hockey down this stretch, even though at this point the Canucks are done. They are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. He still wants to showcase, hey, even when we're down and we're out of it, I can still showcase some great hockey and still give fans something to be excited about, give the organization something to be excited about, and give players something to be excited about, whether it's in Vancouver or with another team, seeing what their future teammate might have in their bag of tricks. So with that, what do you guys think about all of this with Brock Boeser, about just moving on from him likely not returning? Let us know what you guys have to say down in the comments below. But that's going to take us into our second part of today, which is this Patrik Allvin quote on Sportsnet. He had a lot of quotes at today's press conference and media availability. We're going to be covering a lot of that later on today after the game. They have their game coming up tonight, so we're going to be covering up a bunch of stuff after the game, so stay tuned for that. But as far as talking about the season in general, he said, I think it's too early here to do the full season review of the season, talking around other general managers around the league. I don't know if they'd feel for us. They'd say they feel for us, but everyone knows we've gone through things that you'd never expected. But I think that's also a way to grow and learn, and absolutely a lot of growth that is going to be going through this offseason for the Canucks. Patrik Allvin was thrown a lot of curveballs this season with the off-ice drama with JT Miller, Elias Pettersson, with just the Pettersson stuff in general, with all the injuries to our biggest and best players, mind you, to all the stuff at the trade deadline, to the media scrutiny that he's had to face for the lack of moves at the trade deadline, and for the free agents that he's had to bring in and just talk about ones that he brought in, moved on from, ones that he replaced during the season, and so many other things. This was really a big testing period for Patrik Allvin. So that's why, as much as this season as a whole was very frustrating for us, I know us Canucks fans, we didn't like having to go through the inconsistent hockey, this false hope, as some might call it, down the stretch of the playoffs, because ultimately we did not make the cut and we are eliminated. But with this, I think this is necessary. You need to go through adversity in order to grow. If you don't go through adversity, you're not going to go anywhere. You're just going to get handed everything, and you're just going to think everything's breezy and not change anything and not adjust. They know they have to make adjustments. We know what those adjustments are. We know what things are working are. We know that our decor, we're pretty set there. We don't have to do too much. Free agency, center, wingers, losing Brock Boeser, keeping Pius Suter around. A lot of things here, and also Elias Pettersson, which we're going to touch on in a later video. So there's a lot of things at play here for Vancouver that Patrik Allvin, I think he's in a really good spot here. As much as everyone's going to say that season was a failure and all of that, I think next season we're really going to see a big turnaround, because obviously this staff, these players, they're not going to settle for another season like this, whether it's barely making the playoffs or just inconsistencies or just being abysmal to the point where you're just terrible. But what they want to do, obviously, is what every team wants to do. You want to win the Stanley Cup, and we have a team of competitors that hate to lose more than they love to win. That's what you want in a competitor, and that's what we got in this locker room. So, and in this coaching staff as well, which is made up of a lot of former players, which is amazing to have in your coaching staff. So next season, with all this adversity, I think that's where we're really going to see this Vancouver Canucks team reach what they're capable of being. I know we're going to lose a lot of pieces that are big, Brock Boeser being one of them. However, when we came into this season, we thought we were going to be a lot better than we were. Merck and I, we were singing the praises of all these free agents that we brought in. A lot of them worked out. Some of them didn't. Daniel Sprong, Dan Hinton, didn't work out. JT Miller, we had to lose him. Brought in Filip Hronek. He unfortunately got hurt. And then we had Drew O'Connor. He's doing great. Marcus Pettersson's doing great. And then Victor Mancini is really starting to pick up speed too as well. So yeah, we had to do a lot of shake up and a lot of things, but starting a little bit of things are starting to take form here. And I think we're going to start to see this Canucks team kind of start to reopen that Stanley Cup window a bit more in the coming years. I know Quinn Hughes is also going to be an instrumental part of that with that contract looming. So that's going to be a big one over the next year or two and things like that, and avoiding a rebuild to keep him in Vancouver. So yes, a lot of things that Patrik Allvin and Jim Rutherford have to do. However, with this season, I'm very happy that it wasn't just an easy breezy season for us, and this isn't something where we're going to go into next season kind of like we did with this past off season, where we went into this season with a little bit of in denial where, hey, we're just fine, we're easy breezy, we're going to be okay. And then as the season went on, things were not okay. And it got even worse and worse. And then it got better a little bit. Then it got worse. And it was very up, down, all the way around and in circles. And we don't want that next season. And I think Patrik Allvin, now knowing the changes he has to make, is going to be able to right that ship with hopefully Rick Tocchet at the helm with Quinn Hughes there as well, and other Vancouver Canucks stars. But what do you guys think about all this in general, about the Brock Boeser stuff, about what Patrik Allvin was saying with his early in-season review? And what do you guys think about heading into these final games? Are you guys going to be watching all those games? Are you guys going to be watching the highlights only? Let us know what you guys have to say down in the comments below. But stay tuned for another episode later tonight after the game, covering the rest of the media availability from today and our takes on them. But with that, I've been your host, Griffin. Take care.